Raila-Amolo-Oginga. General introduction. Barbara, as his local current alias, might have been born probably on the 7th of January, 1945. He might have hailed from Bondo, Siaya County, Kenya. He might have served as Kenyan's second Prime Minister, from year 2008 to 2013. This might have been compromised after the 2007 contentious general election. Also, he might be among renowned Kenyan businessmen. He might have severally vied for presidency but to no avail. He might have contested election integrity on most of those losses. He might also be a pacifist intellectual, questioning to know better on shadowy issues. Against all those setbacks, he might be still resilient, competing for next presidential election, the 9th of August, 2022. He might be seconded for the post by his running mate, Martha Karua. He might have served in various political parties and portfolios. His general biography. He might be a mechanical engineer. He might have been one of the children of the late Oginga-Odinga, may his true soul rest in eternal peace. His father might be likely one of the forefront forgotten and selfless Kenyan freedom fighters. He might have ascended to vice presidency, post-independency. The likely uncelebrated icon might have been politically sidelined, as might be indicated in the book Not Yet Uhuru. Raila might have been schooled both in Kenya and East Germany. He might have shortly taught at the University of Nairobi in the 70s. Some of his local acquaintances then might have testified about his entrepreneurial ventures while still in the University of Nairobi. The East African Spectre Limited Company might have been engineered by his ideas then. He might have also served in Kenya Bureau of Standards. He might have earned deputy directorship of the board in the year 1978. He might have been described by one of his old acquaintances residing in Brandenburg, Germany, Mr. Tough and Serious during their schooling. This might have described about his activism spirit. He might have championed for Second Kenyan Liberation, Section 2 AM, against Kanu one-party rule. His political activism might have been discovered in the early 80s. Some might have been saying that he might have been among few old Kenyan politicians with stamina and resilience. He might have been severally arrested by then regimes but neither tried nor convicted for any. His big predicament might have been when he might have been held hostage in those alleged chambers for 6 years, since the failed alleged coup of the year 1982. Many other political victims during those regimes might be lamenting on their unjustified afflictions, while championing for truth. After his release, he might have been constantly active in both our local and international matters. His footprints might be traced in all our political, social and economical sectors. He might have served as member of Ford K till 1996, NDP till 2001, KANU till 2002, LDP till 2006, ODM up to date. His shifts might have been attributed to our political deceits, our tribal party considerations, our political party kingship, our petty political infights, our individualistic political aspiration and our weak political parties. He served continuously as a member of the Kenyan National Assembly, from 1992 to the year 2013, Kibera constituency. Some of his constituents might attest to his leadership strengths and weaknesses. He might also be human. He might have also served as Secretary General of KANU in 2001. In 2002 he might have been one of the relentless campaigners for the NARC presidency. During the 11th hour, they campaign on their own. Their candidate might have been absent, owing to the road accident he might have been involved in, a month prior to the poll. Our late retired President Mwai Emilio Kibaki, may his soul rest in peace, might once have confirmed his personal political gratitude to him, for his championship in the poll. He might have served as Minister of Roads, Public Works and Housing during the first Kibaki's regime. He later might have cried foul on the regime neglecting their pre-election agreement between LDP and NAK. Their disagreements might have ranged from cabinet sharing deal, constitutional review deal and government leadership structure deal, the prime minister roles versus the presidency. He might have led a contra-mobilization against the November 2005 constitutional referendum and secured a victory, Orange versus Banana. As a probable reaction by the regime to that loss, the regime might have sacked most of the ministers who supported the contra opinion in the poll. The political marriage between LDP and NAK might have been eventually separated in the year 2006. He might have already formed ODM as his coalition. The regime formed PNU as their coalition, in readiness for 2007 contest. During his 2007 candidacy, he might have been very popular across all divides, epitomizing social, political and economical transformations. His aspirations might have been shuttered by the then election integrity. The ODM secured a majority in parliament after that poll. This factor, together with the post-election violence question, might have earned him on 17 April 2008, the Prime Minister position, just to ease tension. Former political lovers reunited. What a short celebration. He might have traded his political pride for that peace deal. This deal might never have been totally supported by some of his party brigade. Some of them might have bargained for other deals. Time and options might have never been on his side. As an aftermath of the 2007 post-election violence, more than 1,480 Kenyans might have been murdered, in cold blood. More than 18,000 might have been physically injured or maimed. More than 750,000 Kenyans might have been internally displaced within their own country. More than 223 billion Kenyan shillings might have been lost in property damages and losses attached to the economic stagnation that ensued. All this political lunacy might have been owed to our political ignorance, our selfishness, our retrogressive voting technology and our soiled election integrity. These might have been the product of our negligence in addressing the plights of the poor and fixing our tainted election integrity. The international community might have come to our aid. Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete and the late Kofi Annan, may his diplomatic and simple soul rest in peace, on February 2008, might have compromised a win-win deal, just for peace. The peace task forces might have suggested clear roadmap to solution. The implementations might have been left to the discretion of the regime and the sovereignty of people of Kenya. The Krugler and TJRC reports might be among the many reports tabled. In 2009, the second political marriage between the duos might have started experiencing problems again. This time ODM ministers might have been excluded in decision-making forums. In response, he might have opted to abandon chairing that one-sided cabinet. In 2010, an ODM infight ensued, when he made a big political mistake by suspending 2 alleged corrupt ministers from his cabinet. The then presidency might have tricked him to take that step, only to abandon him on his own. This might have been evident by the quickly reinstatement of the 2 ministers by the then presidency. This reinstatement might have shamed him in public. He might have made again a second political mistake by accepting to mediate on the ICC question. This might also have been a trick on him, being delegated the role. This ICC question might have been used by his opponents later against his 2013 candidacy. Some of the subjects he might have been trying to mediate might have been the ones who proposed the ICC to be invited. In 2010, he together with the then presidency might have championed for the Kenyan Constitution 2010. Up to date, we ought to be grateful to him and all those who rallied behind the Constitution, for all the good in the document. He might have vied for the 2013 poll again and might have lost on a narrow margin, 43.31% to 50.07%. He might have contested the result in court. Our Honorable Supreme Court ruled against him, basing on several important considerations. Some of the honorable justices might have been frank on how the ruling might have been arrived at. One might have suggested that, how his legal team presented many complex and unjustifiable evidences might have been a factor that might have made them lost the case. Another honorable paraphrased that his legal team might have never accused the defense, then pleading with the court to order the defense instead to present evidences. Another honorable justice might also have explained that the court, given the then legal framework, lacked the power and machinery to follow up on the issued orders, within the allocated trial period. He also might have said that, the bench might have lacked the capacity to verify those complex evidences presented. Our courts might have been designed to be a neutral arbiter, balancing between 2 competing sides. The defense might always question the authenticity of the evidences presented, burden of proof. His legal team might have smartly failed him. He might have also vied for the 2017 presidency. He lost and contests the outcomes again. Our Honorable Supreme Court nullified that election citing irregularities. The court might have ordered for the presidential poll to be repeated, though he absconded the contest citing unfixed concerns. He might have attempted forming an alternative government, as a protest to his neglected plights. He soon retracted that move and opted for a handshake. This handshake might have been necessitated for various reasons: peace and tranquility, economic stability, economic continuity, political forgiveness. The ill-advised treacherous move. Luckily the administrator of the oath had a dual nationality, countering those former coalition allies who were just about to strike a deal with the regime, just to mention a few. His likely wise adventure and political gimmick might have saved his blood. We the citizens ought to blame ourselves too. We might have never supported our institutions to be strong and independent that might check our leaders. Our system too might be having very powerful, tricky, invisible and invincible, in all political groups. He might be vying for the last attempt, on the 9th of August, 2022. I might never know his plans and strategy on how he might use his wisdom and power to outsmart the invincible and invisible, within and outside his sphere. I might hope that he might retract from mentioning alleged corruption questions in his campaign. This might be another political mistake he might be about to make. Those 48 laws of power ought to be consulted, before making any political move. In conclusion, we ought never to generally condemn our leaders. Some of them might be very good individuals. The invisible and invincible might have taken hostage of all of our political entities. He ought to identify some simple political trickery in his way. I might never judge any leader before studying their real biographies and history. We ought to unite and forgive our past. We might be products of our system. We might have all corrupted our country. We ought to find a sustainable way forward for our likely broke nation. Truth might be very tasteless, but we might need it, just like drinking water. My lens might be searching other great personalities. I might be in the process of publishing about the biography on William Samoa Bruto. He might be having some good attributes which ought to be celebrated. Our problems might be never on our leaders. The problem might be in our attitudes towards wealth. Happiness might be material and temporary, but joy might be non-material and long-lasting. We might never own everything in one lifetime. Thank you for studying this article on Raila-Amolo-Oginga. This might be Raila-Amolo-Oginga-on-my-lens. MLA style. Raila-Amolo-Oginga-on-my-lens. Ben's Library. YouTube, Facebook, Meta. Kenya. You might access my previous article, Neglected Issues, on this link, https://u2.b/3j4howID. Production Notes Studio, Benz. Director, Benson Caricature, +2547022600128. Producer, Benson Caricature. Writer, Benson Caricature. Time, 20 minutes. Cast, Janet R.D. Acknowledgements, Sister Vivian Zoller, Microsoft Community, Our Intelligentsia, Janet R.D. and all pacifists.